All right, so it's a little past 12, so let's go ahead and get started. We're first gonna look at evolution in plants, and then we'll be looking at fungi. So similar to the last session, these are going to be a lot of question and answering. So I'll ask you guys some questions and we'll get some engagement going. All right, so um, let's look at question number 1. It says mutations in some land plants gave rise to vascular tissues. What advantages did these plants have compared with land plants that did not contain any vascular tissue? So what do you guys think? Why do you think vascular plants might be advantageous than non-vascular plants? Yeah, so the comment says they can retain water. That's a great answer. I'm gonna put that down. Another comment says their ability to absorb nutrient is greater. That's also true. And that's a great comment there. It says they don't have to grow close to the ground where it's moist. They can grow upwards. That's one of the biggest advantages of vascular plants. And the roots also provide support against gravity. And because of that, they're able to grow taller. And yes, also with their internal structure, it helps them hold themselves up against gravity. Another advantages of them growing taller is that they have more light energy available. So if you're in a forest and it's really crowded, so the plants that can grow taller and higher get the first like line of sunlight, and then whatever passes through is what goes on to the shorter plants. Comment says that's Turgor pressure, right? Are you referring to the greater support one? Because when you're vascularized, you also have Turgor pressure, which helps you support yourself up against gravity and move water against gravity. Also, because they have more access to sunlight, they also have faster rates of metabolism. And that allows them to grow quicker and be more efficient with water and food transport throughout the body. Oh, okay. So those of you in Professor Kautz's class who don't have access to the worksheet, there's a link to that in the comment. And thank you for putting that up there. All right, let's look at the next question. So mutations in some land plants gave rise to roots, leaves, or both. What advantages did these plants have compared with plants that did not have roots? So what are the advantages of having roots? Does it increase or decrease surface area? If you have root, will you have more surface area or less? Yeah, so increase surface area. Great, great job. And this increase in surface area allows them to absorb nutrients faster and more efficiently. And one of the comments says roots have a symbiotic relationship with fungi, which provides nutrients. That's a great point. So there's nitrogen in the soil in the form that plants can't use, but when they have that symbiotic relationship, it converts the fungi converts the nitrogen into the form that the plants can fix it. So that's a great answer. Another answer I see is anchors the plant. That's also a great answer. And another answer I see is increases connection with other plants for resources. That's also true. Yeah, it's also a communication network. So what about leaves? So we've been talking about roots. So what about leaves? So I see two answers so far. It says stomata and leaves have a larger surface area for photosynthesis to occur. Those are both right answers. So the stomata is contained within the leaf, and that's going to help with photosynthesis. And having the leaf is going to have a larger surface for the photosynthesis to occur, and it's also going to help with transpiration. So the comment says leaves store starches. I'm not sure if that's specific to the leaves or if that's throughout the plant. Um, oh, looks like there's some comments. I'm not sure what's going on. Okay, I think it might have been someone not from class. Sorry guys, I'm having trouble like opening the chat up again because I had to make like those chats go away. Yeah, I think it's spam too. I'm just having trouble getting back into the chat box. Like I can see the chat, but I'm like I can't type. Okay, anyways, I'm just gonna continue and sorry if I don't see your chat immediately because um it's a little hard for me to see that right now. Okay, let's keep going. Next question is mutations in some land plants give rise to life cycles in which the gametophyte generation was reduced. What advantages did these plants have compared to the plants that do not have a reduced gametophyte generation? So the reduction of the gametophyte generation helped protect the reproductive phase from mutations of DNA, which could be caused by increased amount of UV or other like bad things happening in the environment, like ocean environment. Um, and a mutation in a haploid gene would like show up immediately. So the reduction in this helped combat those like bad like mutations in DNA from accumulating. So I'm gonna write that down. Yeah, I think it might have been a game streamer too. I'm not. This is my first time using Stream. Like when I started this thing through the Learning Center, so I'm not sure like if I can make it exclusive to like people like just from PSU, but I think right now it's like open to the entire world. So anyone that's just like browsing can pop in. Okay, yeah, so to recap that again, the reduction of the gametophyte generation and like enclosing it helped prevent mutations from accumulating in the DNA. Okay, so the next thing is mutations in some land plants gave rise to the seed. What advantages did these plants have compared with plants that did not have seeds? So, do you guys want to throw out some ideas for how the evolution of seed was helpful to the plants? Oh, okay. So it seems like there's a lag on my side, and I'm just now getting the comments, guys. Let's see. So one comment says seeds allowed for the plants to safely reproduce. It made their seeds more versatile. Yes, that is one of the biggest advantage. And it made the plants reproduce, not reproduce more, but like make their offspring survive more. So they became like more fit. So seeds provided protection. And this is both from like predators and environment. So seeds gave protection. Like if an animal ate it, the seeds usually weren't. Yeah, that's the other comment that I see, dispersal and finding. Yeah, so if, when animal like birds or other little organisms eat the seeds, they usually don't digest the entire seed and like excrete it out. And it's usually in a place that's like farther away just because they travel a lot. Yeah, and the last comment I see is seed could withstand. So yeah, they can withstand like different climate and environment until they can actually germinate. Also, another thing is that the seed usually provided nutrients for the embryo, so it would so you have like a storage of food, and if like the developing plant can use that food that's stored in the seed. And this was particularly helpful when they needed to be dormant for a little bit. So having this food storage available allowed the embryo to grow and develop more, even though it's not out in the world and it hasn't germinated yet. And upon germinating, the food storage in the seed continues to help the roots develop and until the plant like breaks through the soil and is capable of photosynthesis. So until the plant can do photosynthesis on its own, the food in the seed is going to help with that. Yeah, I think these comments are coming in a little bit late because it's lagging, but another comment says seeds are more resistant to the environment. And that's a very good that's a very good answer. Okay, next we're going to look at how these events in plant evolution, it says 1 through 4, and that's just what we talked about, like the vascularization, the gametophyte, and the evolution of seeds. So the four things we looked at earlier. So we're going to look at how they might be related. For example, like we're going to look at which one would have came first, like if would the seed evolution came first or the vascularization came first. Um, And so we're gonna look at that, and then we're gonna produce like we're gonna come up with a proposed evolutionary scheme. And to to help us with that, we're gonna be asking the questions, would it be possible for the seed to evolve without vascular tissue having evolved first? So we're just gonna kind of play like a detective game and see like which one is more likely to come first. And we're gonna give support to why we think that is. Okay, so I guess the first question is, what do we think came first out of that? Like, do we think the roots and leaves came first, or the vascular tissue evolved first? Okay, so I'm gonna propose that the vascular tissue evolved first, and the main evidence for that is because roots and leaves contain vascular tissue. So it would make more sense for the vascular tissue to come first before things made out of that can come. Um, Okay, and then I'm gonna say that the leaves and roots came before the seeds because the seed production is very costly. Like we mentioned earlier, there's a lot of nutrients in the seeds. So a plant isn't gonna want to spend that much energy in making that unless it is actually gonna be helpful. And so it's not super necessary for the plants to survive, whereas the leaves and roots are very important for the plants to make food. So evolutionarily, the leaves and roots evolved prior to the seed. Okay, next, what we're going to be doing is using the statements that they're giving us and incorporating that into our analysis that we just did of what came first and what came second. So the first part says fossil records, spore evidence, and so on indicates that the first plants on Earth were similar to modern day bryophytes. So this observation indicates to us that the first plants were likely to be gametophyte generation dominant and no vascular tissue because bryophytes have a gametophyte dominant generation and they have no vascular tissue. So if early fossil records are similar to that, we can assume that they have the same type of mechanism. Sorry, I'm only able to see like the comment if someone else comments because my chat is all messed up. So I just saw the comment that says, "Is there anything we have to fill out for attendance?" Yeah, so there's a Google sheet that you have to fill out, and I will put the link to that at the end of the session. And once you fill that out, you'll be counted for coming to the session. And Winter Fox, oh, okay, you put up the link. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so feel free to send the link to people that came in late because I think they can't see the chats prior to entering the stream. Okay, so this observation indicates that the first plants were gametophyte dominant and no vascular tissue. Okay, so the next evidence that they're providing us is that the very large marine brown algae can grow to a length of 30 feet or more. These algae have both leaf-like and stem-like structures and are held at the bottom of the sea by a holdfast. When examined microscopically, the algae are found to contain transport vessels that are similar to phloem in function. These giant kelp do not contain any xylem-like vessels, however, nor do they have roots. So this statement gives us evidence for coevolution of transport system. So in the ocean, a food transport system evolved, and then this allowed the organism, like the giant kelp that they mentioned here, to evolve. So it kind of evolved with the food transport system and the organism itself. And with efficient food transport systems, photosynthetic parts of the plants that were near the surface of the water were able to supply food to the non-photosynthetic parts, which were not exposed to the sufficient light energy. So that's what we see here in the kelp is that since it's very long, part of it is very close to the surface where it has easy access to light, and then the bottom of it does not have easy access to light. So what happens is the top part uses the light energy and then transports it to the bottom half, and the bottom half doesn't have that ability to use the light energy. So it has to rely on the top part. So here I'm going to write coevolution. And photosynthetic part near the top. Okay, next part. So this says the first land plants with xylem and phloem had no leaves or roots. And what this indicates is that there was no that there was a selective advantage to having xylem and phloem alone. So the addition of the xylem and the phloem allowed for the plants to grow much, much taller. And so specifically, the xylem allows for water to be transported quickly from the soil to the top of the plant. And then some parts could be shaded and is still fed by the transporting sugars. So taller plants are less likely to be shaded. And as a result, they're able to gather more energy compared to shorter plants that are lower. And so they had better survival and reproductive rates than shorter plants. So that was true even if they had no leaves or roots. Okay, so next part says some seedless vascular Sporophyte plants do not release megaspores. Instead, the megaspore divide on the sporophyte to produce the female gametophyte. This female gametophyte produces eggs in archegonia, which are fertilized by sperm produced in the antheridia of this or other plants. Neither the female gametophyte nor the developing embryo receives nutrients from the old spirophyte plant. So this shows us that how the stage could have been set for the evolution of a seed, and it was dependent on the sporophyte plant. Gim Halko, so I'm not able to see the rest of your chat, so sorry, I can't. If someone else like sends a chat next, I can see the chat, like the later chat, so I'll get to you. Oh, do you guys haven't learned about the sporophyte plants yet? Is that what you're saying? Okay, I think we have one more of these, and then let's see. Yeah. Um, okay, so question 4 says, write an analysis of how these events could be related. So we talked about vascularization, leaves and roots, shortening of the gametophyte, and seeds. So I would say like all these changes in evolution kind of builds on top of what already exists. So first we see that the evidence indicates that there's effective means for transporting that are required. So first you need like photosynthetic organisms to grow taller, and then an aquatic and like environment that wasn't like too much of an issue. So as a result, you see like food transport mechanisms just by themselves were required because they didn't really need to like go against gravity. Um, and then we see that on land, they have to deal with all three of the problem. They have to support against gravity as well as transport food and water. So therefore, on land, plants had evolved mechanisms to overcome the problem in order to grow tall, whereas in the aquatic plants, they didn't need to overcome the gravity issue. So they only needed the xylem and the phloem by themselves. think we're just getting spammed today. Um, okay, so we just have like four more true or false, and then what I'm gonna do is give like a 5 minute break, and then we can go on to the next worksheet. And in the like 5 minute break, I'll try to figure out the whole like chat issue. So I'm just gonna go through these quickly. So 5 says the sperm could have been produced by an antheridium on the moss sporophyte. So this one is false because moss sporophytes produce the spores, and antheridia produces sperm on the moss. Oops. Okay, and then this one says the sperm could later stop swimming and develop into male gametophyte of the sperm. This one is also false because the male gametophyte is formed after the germination of the spore. And then the next one says the sperm may be swimming to the archegonium of the fern. And this one is true. So this is a true statement. And then the last one is the sperm could have been released by a pollen tube of the angiosperm. So this one is false because no angiosperms produce flagellated sperm, and the flagella is what makes them or gives them the ability to move. Okay, so this is the end of this worksheet. Let's take like a 5 minute break. Um, let's come back at 12:47 and we can just quickly look at the other worksheet, and then I'll also put the link for the extra credit again. I'm gonna try to figure out the chat box in the meantime. Okay, so I was able to get the chat back up again, so I'll be able to see your chats now. And so we finished. Is there audio? Can you guys not hear me? Oh, okay. Yeah, I gave like a quick break because I had to like figure out my chat because I was like blocking people. So, okay. So we're gonna be m- shifting a little bit from the plants and looking at fungi and their form and function. So the first question is, what is the basic body plan of most fungi? So most of them are composed of filamentous hyphae, and these can aggregate together and form what is called the mycella. So mycelia, and the singular form, if you're curious, is mycelium. And these structures can either occur below ground or as fruiting bodies that can appear above ground. So the fungi that do not share this basic body plan would be yeast, because they're unicellular. Comment says, did we have the opportunity to get this worksheet yet? So yeah, I talked to the professors and they said they will put it up on their D2L page, but it looks like Professor Couts had not put it up on her website yet. So there was a chat earlier um, with a link to the Google Drive. So if someone could like put that in the chat again, that would be very helpful. Okay, so what ways are fungi important to the ecosystem? Feel free to throw out some ideas about why you think fungi are important to us. Oh, thank you for putting the Google Doc again. Yeah, that's a great, those are great answers. Symbiosis, and they help decompose organic material. They are key decomposers in the ecosystem, and they are also key recyclers of carbon compounds in the ecosystem. Yeah, that's where the carbon cycle comes in. They play a role in that as well. Let's see. So we talked about the ecosystem. So is there anything specific you can think of about the relationship that fungi and humans have? What kind of relationship we have? Is it mutualism? Is it parasitism? Yeah, that's true. They're mutualistic in many ways. So on the positive side, fungi like yeast are very useful in making cheese. So we can make our bread, we can bake, make beer. So the beer industry is very dependent on these fungi. They're also a really good source of wide range of antibiotics. So it like in the medical side too, like they're very helpful to us. But they do have a negative relationship with humans sometimes where they can be pathogens, like you can have like fungal infections and things like that. So in those instances, they would be parasites, but they do have a lot of mutualistic um, relationships with humans. So I'm going to write down the negatives and the positives. Yeah, I like that answer. I didn't think about that. Heterotrophs eat them, so yeah, they're a great food source. Yeah, we also eat fungi sometimes, so they provide food for us as well. Okay, so fungi are much more closely related to animals than they are to plants. And in addition to like the DNA sequence data, there are also several morphological links between animals and fungi. Can you guys think of any examples for how they are related or similar to animals? I love those answers. Yeah, chitin and glycogen and also external digestion. So I'll first talk about the chitin. So the cell wall of fungi are made up of chitin, and those are usually found in animals and plants have cellulose. So it's interesting that fungi have chitin. So they share that characteristics with animals. Okay. Oops, sorry, I said kingdom, but it's phylum or phyla. And yeah, so the next point that was made was the external digestion. That also shows that they are heterotropic, like animals, rather than phototropic, like plants. And let's see, some of the comments says fungi themselves are heterotrophs, like animals. They rely on dead, decaying material, whereas plants are autotrophs. Yes, great point. That's that's what we're just about to cover. And then another one says, yeah, inside or outside. Oh, yeah. Another thing that makes fungi more similar to animals is that they have flagella found in some fungal spores, and the gametes are similar to flagella found in animals. So if you were to look at microscopic details, their flagella is pretty similar to ours. Okay, so I think this is a great stopping point since we're coming to the end of our session. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them. And I will once again link the extra credit sheet so you guys can all get points for showing up. Yeah, and I will talk to Professor Kautz and ask about the status of putting the worksheets on there. So for next week, both the classes can have access to the worksheet prior to the session. Oh yeah, thank you guys very much. Sorry about the disturbance with the chat. I'll definitely, and like I saw some great ideas about like having it password protected and stuff. I'll definitely look into that. It's a great idea. Okay, thank you everyone. So I'm gonna end the stream now, but you'll be able to find this recording in my stream page, and they will be um, provided links on D2L, and we're uploading them on YouTube.